So I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order at 3:03 p.m. And I'll ask if there are any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda.
I saw none.
All right, hearing none. Do we have any persons present not on the agenda?
There's no one here, and I haven't been told of anyone that called in. So,
Okay.
and there's no one else on Zoom.
All right. Then did everyone have a chance to take a look at Nancy's great minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
And are there any additions or changes, corrections to those minutes?
Nope. We're good.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, Ron. So then we'll move on into old business. So we've been discussing changing the PRT meeting time. I know that this time is challenging for our trustee liaison, Catherine Guthrie. And Ron, I think I heard you had an issue with this meeting time as well.
You know, it's the issue is if I'm traveling the week. I still work full time and I travel occasionally. So this week I'm here. The Zoom probably is better for me, and I can still do 3 o'clock if that's more beneficial for you guys. So I can make it work.
Okay. I do think it's important that we have our liaison available. Would you guys consider just pushing it back another hour? I think Catherine said that would work for her.
Sure.
I'd have no problem with that.
Yeah, that works for me.
So I'll move then that we update our PRT meeting time, same dates, and just changing the time to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Do we have to make a motion on that? I would so move. Second, my apologies. I turned to speak to the town office, town staff.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 Thank you. So I did meet, so we'll move on to wayfinding signage, topic 5B. I did meet with the design company and the sign company last week and have in the works some do not feed the geese language. Do I have the ability to share screen, Todd?
Yeah, you should be able to. I think you can do a share screen request. I think I may have to.
Yeah, it's saying that you have it disabled at the moment.
Okay, hang on a minute. Let's see if I can.
Still disabled.
Okay, are you able to now?
Yes. So do you all see some signage up?
Okay,
Yes.
bear with me. I got to move it over to the projector.
Okay. So I just received this about 15 minutes ago. It's not exactly what I would have presented, but it represents all of the signage for the Red Butte recreational area. And within that, she did the do not feed the geese signs and the Green Mountain Falls' Bear Care community. I'm going to say that I'm not happy yet with those signs. but I'll look for some guidance here about rewording these, what we like, what we don't like about these.
Hey,
So
Jesse,
let's start with,
hang on just a minute. I'm having trouble moving this over to the projector so folks can see it. And I think it's because you're sharing. I may stop. Could you stop sharing yours real quick to see if I can get it moved over to the projector?
yes, I sure will.
Yeah, it's not letting me do what I want to do. So this. Okay, Jesse, now try it.
Share screen.
Yep,
Okay.
now we got it.
And you can now see my cursor.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, so so this section is about the geese, and there's obviously a need to get some information at the park about not feeding the geese. The size of these makes them eligible to go right onto the wayfinding towers that we already have in place, and so it's just getting the language correct. So. Who has comments about the do not feed the geese signs and what I should change with the designer? Nancy, I'll start with you.
I'm trying to think of a positive way instead of having the don't on
Mhm.
there. That I need a little time to think about what the wording could be for the positive. I mean, the sign itself is showing, you know, the X through the goose,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure how can you make that a positive?
Yeah, I think option D tries.
Yeah, but it's really hard to read from, you know, and maybe it's better on your sign
Mhm.
because I don't know what the words say. Could you read it to me?
For the health of our pond, which I would change to lake, for the health of our lake and wildlife, please don't feed them.
I like that-
she
I
was-
like
think
that
she was
it-
on the right path there.
Yes, I like that it gives a reason for not feeding the geese instead of just saying, don't do it.
Mhm.
But I agree, the wording needs to be massaged.
So even if it said, please do not feed the geese for the health and welfare of our pond, lake.
I think that worked. That sounds good.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the negativity of options A, B, or C. Some of the folks need to be smacked around a little bit, but that's just my perspective. Adding the please and the reason would be really good. So little modification on option D would do it. The symbol of, you know, the don't symbol, that's pretty universal, and that should be communicated even if it's not immediately legible to someone, you know, 50 feet away.
Yeah, I agree. I think option D with a little rewording probably would be my choice.
Okay. Then it sounds like we're all agreeing, and I've massaged the language to say, please do not feed the geese for the health and welfare of our lake.
Yes.
That would be great.
I like that. And I also like the symbol that's on there with the hand and the goose. So that you're
Okay.
showing that a human and you know, the goose.
Yeah. The symbol by itself would communicate the message, but reinforcing it with that kind of language should make it very difficult for people to justify, oh, well, I'm just doing this. No, we said don't.
All right, so let's talk about the quantity of these that I should have printed.
Hey, Jesse, if I could interrupt, Dawn's
Please.
trying to connect. I may need you to stop sharing your screen again so I can see if I can let him in.
All right, I've stopped.
There he is. Admit.
As long as we've got a minute there.
That's Catherine.
That was Catherine.
Okay.
Okay.
John, a very jaunty mustache.
Thank you.
I say that as one who can only grow gray anymore. So
Well, there's a guy down the street that knows how to do this. Or mine would be white.
it looks good. It looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not seeing Dawn on here. Catherine's on. So, okay, yeah, I'm not seeing Dawn. Evidently, he's having trouble connecting in for whatever reason. But we do have Catherine on now.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I'll continue talking about wayfinding signage and let her get connected. And then I do want to just take everyone through the mocked up version of the signage for Red Butte because it is supposed to appear before this committee anyway. So I know that I said last week that we should be getting the welcome center sign installed down at Pool Park. I did have to approve something today for that to get done. So I expect that to be installed within the next week. And Jay, I think that you had all the information to post on it, but let's talk about the sign company comes out, sets up a blank trailhead sign. It says Town Welcome Center in the top where it would traditionally say something like Mount Dewey Trail. And so who's in charge and how do we get I believe we have the content because we've talked about it at previous meetings, but immediately once that gets installed, who will take it upon themselves to print that material and get it on there? Is that you waving, yes, you'll do it, Nancy?
Actually, I was waving hi to Dawn in the bright orange shirt. But yes, I will help with that because I probably have, I'm sure through myself and the town staff, we probably have everything that we need to be able to print out and put up. So yeah, I'll take that action item.
Okay, and I think Jay has had that trail information about distances to the trailheads.
Yeah.
That was on that Excel spreadsheet. So I think that would be good to put on as well.
I'll look that up and shoot that over to Nancy as we go through the meeting.
Okay. And then it's been on my mind to ask what we think about printing up the Hiker 5 rules and having them added to our trailhead signs as a metal printed.
I think that'd be a great idea, just to have that reminder before they hit the trails of, expectations and behaviors on the trail. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Jay, if you would send me a quantity of those that you think we should have printed up, and then I will, and add 2, because there will be 2 new trailhead signs going in at Red Butte.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
all the signage at Red Butte is being paid for by Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation. And Historic will pay for the ones at Mount Dewey and HB Wallace Reserve, and could pay for the ones at Catamount, actually now. So if you'll get me a quantity, I'll get the cost on those. These placards average, I think, $18 a piece.
Okay. So those would be in the group similar to the standardized signage placards, or would they format? Okay. So we want to get at least, I believe at least 5, but I will go through a count and send you locations on each one. Okay.
Perfect. I'm going to go back to screen share now and just take everyone through what has been proposed for Red Butte. Now I got to shrink this. Okay, so I think, can you all see the whole package now?
Yes.
Okay, so again, this is not part of it. So we're proposing to add, I got to change hats here. So Historic is proposing to add 2 of the wayfinding towers, just like we have everywhere else in town. One of those would be right as you turned into the entrance of Joyland, and the other one would be over on El Paso Avenue as pedestrians are walking out of the gravel lot into the trailhead over there. So those would be official town wayfinding signs, and then we would add the correct placards to those, and Historic would be purchasing those. We'll be adding 2 of the trail markers, which are the standard red wooden signs, and they would appear just like any other town trailhead signs. All the information about Hiker 5, et cetera, would go on those. We talk about adding some parking here signs. This is really sort of dependent on whether or not the parking company comes back into play this summer. They will be monitoring parking and collecting revenue at both of those parking lots. Because I don't know what is happening with that, I've just proposed to Historic to have these signs made so that we have something to put up in case we need something. And then I'll zoom in a little bit. I took the town wayfinding signs and sort of shrunk them to 6x6 posts that would be 2 foot would be underground, 3 feet would be above ground, and then we have smaller placards. These are 6x6 placards that would go and start to describe the trail system up on Red Butte Recreational Area. So not on behalf of PRT, but on behalf of Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation, I will ask, let's see, there's 2 more things. One is a standard art display sign. You see these in front of the art display on Lake Street and at other locations where we have installation art in town. So it's just a bit of information about the artist and the piece. So we are proposing having 4 of these on Red Butte, all with different information about the artwork. Then we have a large stainless steel entrance sign, which is 48 by 72 as proposed, which would be a welcome to the Red Butte Recreational Area. Talks about, it's a project of the Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation. And then we do a land acknowledgement about previous tribal ownership of Ute Pass tribes.
I really, really love that all of this ties in together with what we've already done in the town. So the smaller trail markers, how tall are those, Jesse? Did I miss that?
They're 5-foot posts, and I'm envisioning 18 to 24 inches below grade.
So that is definitely something that we can mimic in the town also for the breadcrumbs. I think that'll really tie the consistency that's going to be great to have for, guiding hikers and giving them information on where to go, like Dewey, Catamount, either going up Hondo or Belvedere. Those are going to be, it'll be interesting to see yours done and then sort of mimic have the town mimic the same thing.
That was certainly my intent when I came up with this design. And I just attended a webinar with the American Trail System about wayfinding signage on trails, and came up with some ideas that obviously are that I used in the tower designs. But they're doing a lot of interesting things with QR codes and being able to connect your QR code to the GPS location finder on Waze mapping. So I hope that we can get there. But getting the posts and everything standardized is the first step.
Jesse, I don't want to overload you, but posts like that would also help out in steering people to the Wallace Reserve areas. Those are, relatively speaking, less used and really quite, and it's excellent trail system, a lot of fun and a lot of things that work well for families. You may want to delay adding anything until after you see how these turn out, but duplicating this or following up with something like this in that area would also be really good.
Great. So I think for the purpose of today's presentation, I will ask the PRT on behalf of Historic for approval to move forward with this signage package for Red Butte.
Sure. I'm just anticipating that you'll be very successful.
Okay. I'm not doing a great job of wearing my different hats right now, so I'm obviously recused on this vote or from making a motion, I think.
I move that we accept and approve the wayfinding signage that's going to be put on Red Butte that Historical Green Mountain Falls Foundation is providing.
Yeah, I'd second that. I think you have to make careful that this is still to be finalized. The proposal is for the basic intent and structure of the signage. That's correct.
Perfect. So Jay, you'll need to ask for a second and a vote.
I'm the second.
Actually, I moved, Jay seconded, and now we can vote.
Okay.
So Jay, you need to do the vote since.
Okay. Since I'd ask Don your vote.
Aye.
That's it. Okay. And Ron?
Aye.
You're okay, Ron? Good. So we have, I'm positive, so we have four in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, guys. And I will take back over the meeting and say that, Jay, I think you're right. Let's see how these look when they go in. Let's see how sturdy they are. And then let's break, breadcrumb signage into its own little package for the town as we go along. But it does feel good that we're starting to get some synchronization with all of this signage.
I have a question, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Are the mounting brackets going to be the same as the large towers?
I do not believe that we will have mounting brackets for these smaller posts. I need to check on that.
I like the idea of the mounting brackets, especially if these signs need to be changed, or you can take them out of the field and bring them in and do whatever you need to. But if they're glued on, of course, it's going to take some work to change them out.
I see. They'll be screwed to the post, just like the town signs.
Yeah, but the small trail, the 6x6, the 6-inch posts would those be buried in soil or buried in a concrete support?
I think that's yet to be determined by what is recommended from the sign company. Obviously, on the town wayfinding towers, with that much post below grade, we had to do that mounting bracket and to help with freeze thaw to the sign. I think we'll want to do the same thing on these trail markers, but I don't have the answer to that yet.
Okay, I was going to kick in the Ute Pass Trail has trail markers like these 6-inch posts along the way. They may be 4x4s instead of 6x6s. They do not have a bolt-on bracket for the sign itself, but they are buried in soil. I'll verify that. My understanding is that they are. I will verify that in the coming week or two.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know how they're holding up and if they ever get pushed over. That's just something that I have wondered about.
Okay. That's a matter we can send you further advisement after you've got, but I don't think this alters the intent of the signage motion or action. It's just a detail that we may want to attend to, and I'll share any observations I make with everyone on the committee at the next meeting.
All right. So Nancy brought to my attention, but between meetings, the issue with not having enough signage at the lake about the geese. So I think anytime we see a need for signage or you hear a need for signage, let's get it on the agenda and talk about it like we did today. Is there anything else that anyone would like to discuss regarding wayfinding signage?
I have one more suggestion. If there is any suggestion of distances of, from where you are to where you're going, I have some insight on that I'd be happy to share. Maybe a little bit too complicated at this point, but when you're using a distance for a destination, often people can look at it and they're not sure exactly what that distance means. One of the ways to solve that is if you have a going signage and a returning signage on the same side. I mean, on the same post, but on opposite sides. Just a little info there. That's all.
Perfect. I understand what you're saying. With no other comments, we'll move to item number 5C, which is the gazebo park renovation. Wondering if we have any town staff who has an update. I do not have an update on what the schedule is of that renovation.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Nate had a double booked the dentist appointment, so he's not with us here. Hang on a minute, maybe Becky does. Yeah, Becky just came in. Yeah, it's for the gazebo park renovation update.
Just a couple of quick updates. We are still waiting on the bond from the contractor. Should be in by the end of the day, and then that contract will be ready to be signed by you, sir. Once that occurs, I'll issue a notice to proceed. And we will begin probably with some pre-construction meeting that I'd love to have a member of the PRT available to attend. Time and location to be determined. If you let me know of which of you would like to be involved there, I will make sure to let you know when it is going to occur and make sure that it fits within your schedule. And then other than that, our Stilling Basins project, which will interface with the Gazebo Lake project, has gone out to bid this week. So we'll have a pre-bid meeting on Monday, and then that project closing shortly after that.
Great, thank you for that update. I assume, Dawn, that you've raised your hand to attend that pre-construction meeting and represent the group.
All four of us, the other members present stepped back, and you could see that Don was volunteering.
I love it that I haven't had to voluntold anyone today besides myself. That's great. Thank you for that update, Becky. I think then that we can just move on to topic 5D, and I'm wondering if Becky can update us on that one as well, if she's still present.
Todd's gonna go get her.
Okay. So while we're waiting for her, I did have some mock-ups for that signage, which I was not happy with at all. I will screenshot that and send it out to you independently, and you can independently give me feedback on that so we continue to develop that signage.
Okay, the bear-proof trash can grant application has been submitted and accepted, and we're just waiting back for approval.
Perfect. If there's no other discussion, we'll move to item 5E, which is ribbon cuttings for the fitness court and the fishing pier. Obviously, we don't have the schedule for the fishing pier yet, so let's focus on the fitness court, which is scheduled to be installed on Saturday, the 21st. Materials will be delivered and orange fencing will go up around the materials. And the fitness court will be installed throughout the week of the 23rd. So we could potentially do the ribbon cutting on the 28th, 29th, or 30th, which I believe is Memorial Day. Anyone know if that's correct?
30th is Memorial Day.
So I will say that we have been provided a press kit. Historic will provide or work with Becky and town leadership on press releases. So Nancy, what do we want this ribbon cutting to look like, and which day should we do it?
Wait, what? Just FYI, I'm not going to be there that weekend, so I can pick a day, but, and what does it look like? I've never done a ribbon cutting. Have you done any of those, Jesse? As far as, I mean, do we get a big ribbon? Do we get a big pair of scissors? I mean, who do we invite? I mean, there's a lot of logistics to it. So as far as a day, I think you'd get probably more participation maybe on a weekend. The weekday, Saturday or Sunday versus Monday. I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
You sort of caught me off guard there, Jesse.
Sorry, I just felt like I was doing a lot of talking.
Well, I'll hand it over to Don.
Yeah, I guess the question is, should we do it on the holiday weekend? Do we want to do it the following weekend? There will, and I know that Greenbox will do sort of a ribbon cutting on opening day of Greenbox as well, because they'll do an art walk, and that'll be the first stop on the art walk. So I do have knowledge of that, but I envision the town doing its own, and we would ask the Board of Trustees and the mayor to be there. If the mayor's not going to be in town, I think that's another reason to potentially change the date for that. But we're going to have this new fitness court that's going to be open, and I think no matter which day we do the ribbon cutting, you know, we should at least have a press release that goes out that says, hey, it's open and available. And it would be nice to have trail ambassadors may get asked questions about it on the weekends. So I think them having a knowledge of how it works would be great.
Jesse, if I can ask, when will the Wi-Fi explanations and background on the use of the equipment be available?
So I've asked the town manager to have the Wi-Fi available by the 21st, and I believe that she was going to be able to meet that deadline. And once the piece of equipment is completed, I'm assuming by the 26th, it will be up and working on the Wi-Fi, and there will be instructions posted about what the Wi-Fi password is, how to log in, and go into the app that tells you how to do the exercises. So it should be self-guided between signage that's attached to the piece and the app that you download to your phone.
Okay, so there's no need to delay, there wouldn't be a need to delay it to make the system operational or usable. But for the purposes of ceremony, it might be better to push it into June. I won't be here either.
Yeah.
Although I'll be definitely testing it out as soon as it's available.
I would definitely appreciate it being like on June 4th, if you want, like mayor to be there, to participate. So.
Yeah, I think that's important. Who then, I'm just thinking through. So I'll obviously be there the week that it's being installed. And then we'll probably come back to a graduation on the 28th. My niece. So I won't be there on the 4th, but I'm happy to work through an invitation list and sort of a run of show that if I can have someone else on PRT actually be in charge of rolling out the event on the 4th.
I'd be willing to do it on the 4th.
I can help.
Okay.
Jay and I can do it together.
Okay.
Like
I'll draft an invitee list then and draft a run of show and email it out to everyone independently. And again, remember, Ron, if you're going to send information out to the back to me, that's fine. Just don't copy the entire group. So we will continue to work through the ribbon cutting for the fitness court via email correspondence. Any other discussion on this topic? Then I'll move to new business. Actually, Catherine has joined us now. Catherine, earlier in the meeting on topic 5A, we discussed the PRT meeting time and pushing it back, pushing the hour back to 4 o'clock Mountain. Does that work for you?
Well, it's better than 3, but yeah, I'll try. I should be able to make that work. It'll probably be, continue to be via Zoom, but it doesn't seem like that's really an issue.
Now, I think there will be lots of weeks that Ron will be on Zoom and lots of weeks that I'll be on Zoom as well.
No, 4 o'clock definitely helps with my work schedule. Yeah. So if that can work for everybody, thank you.
Perfect. I'm going to move on to new business then, topic 6A.
Hey, if I could interrupt again, another option just came to mind. Becky came in, mentioned that if we had it on the 7th before the board meeting, we might be able to have other board members there as well. So that's another option maybe you might want to consider.
For the fitness court?
Yeah, for the ribbon cutting.
I actually think that's a great idea.
We just move you just move your trustee meeting down to an outdoor meeting, and
Yeah, no, we'd probably start down there definitely earlier than
I'm
the board
I'm just
meeting.
being
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to outside meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, you can
They
do.
gave me the cutoff sign.
I could lead, we could lead people in a little jog around the, up to the town hall.
I want to see all the board members use a different piece of the equipment to demonstrate. I think that would be a great idea. Don't you
But we'll
think?
have to film it.
We will film it and we will post it and everyone will enjoy it.
I love it. Great idea, Becky. I know she's back there listening.
That would be good because that would get a little more, that would be a novelty and get people a little more amused by the process and overcome some of the difficulty some people may have by standing out and, yeah. I mean, you should.
Yeah, I will say that one of the best Board of Trustee meetings that I've ever been to in Green Mountain Falls, about 20 of us jumped on the back of a flatbed trailer and like rode around town looking at improvements and the conditions of bridges. And we walked part of it, we rode in a trailer part of it, but it was a great meeting. So, all right. We will change that then to the 7th if everyone agrees with that. It seems like they do. And we didn't, it's not something that we're voting on. So if anyone is not happy with moving it to the 7th, say now or hold your peace. Okay, new business. Fishing regulation signs around Gazebo Lake. Nancy, I think you asked to have this on the agenda. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, Todd's going to go back. So if you can unshare your screen.
Bear with me. I'm hunting and pecking on a machine I'm not used to.
So this was something, while Todd's getting it ready, this was something that Becky brought to our attention, or my attention. It was a placard, a poster that CWP uses at their stocked lakes. And keep going down, another one.
Is it?
Nope, keep going. There. And so this is available through CWP, to put up around Gazebo Lake since they stock the lake. The pictures just before that are just the 3 places when I walked around the lake where we have some kind of posting for fishing. So I guess the discussion today is about, do we want to put this sign up and where do we want to put it up? And do we want to take down the older signs? So that's the discussion for today is, do we want to use this sign that's provided by the wildlife? And where do we want to put the signs?
You guys share your screen. I'm not seeing anything.
And it's this item that was in the agenda packet. Is that correct?
Yes.
So Ron, it would be the last page on the agenda if you have that, or now Todd has it up, I see.
Okay, I got it. Sorry.
I mean, my reaction is that I like the language. It's obviously an official sign. I think my preference would be, just because we've been working on standardizing town signage, that we take this and have our design shop just change it over to our standard colors and placard sizes so that it can go on our existing wayfinding towers.
I agree.
Yeah, it comes close to your standard, but it would be nice to make it really blend in and be natural. The red banner at top, might be something we keep though. I know that's your call about how you mesh this, but almost say we should amend that earlier action on signage to include a sign appropriate for fishing, for state stocked fishing areas.
I think that amendment is perfect.
All right. Well, I'll
Would there
make a mo-
be,
Go
would
ahead.
there be a sign at either end of the lake?
Currently, there are 2 wayfinding towers at the lake. So I can see this going in at least those 2 places.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Nancy, do you know what the sizing on that sign might be?
No, I didn't have those details, not unless Becky does. I was also thinking that, yeah, but having them on the 2 towers would be really great. But we also have that trailhead sign. Possibly we can make a copy and put, the old trailhead sign that's down by the lake and have it on that also, possibly.
I think another place that could go would be actually on the restroom facility there at Lake Street. We've talked about, so we have the breadcrumb signage project coming up, and then we have that restroom also on our to-do list. So we could definitely start that with adding the sign there. So Jay made a motion then to amend the earlier action on wayfinding signage to include a design based on this fishing sign. Is there further discussion or a second?
One more thing. So the trailhead sign I'm talking about is the one that's just by the lake, not the park rules. That's a different one. Is that what you were talking about, Don?
This is the sign that's next to the land office.
Yeah. I'm talking about the trailhead sign that's over by the street.
Okay.
Okay. We got that settled. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, any further discussion or a second to Jay's motion?
Could you repeat the motion?
Okay, I made a motion to amend the earlier motion regarding development of further standardized signage to include a sign suitable for summarizing the angler's message that the state requires, making that sign consistent with Green Mountain Falls standardized signs. And I
And the coloring too? Standard with the coloring?
Yes, standard coloring. This is close, but not quite there. But it takes a step forward. It's the first that would have call it a video or phone-based imaging information. Probably, it would probably need to be modified somewhat to make it more legible, but it would give us a good start.
Can you, did you get all that down in that motion?
No, that's just commentary because we're leaving the detail. In the earlier motion, we made a motion to provide the umbrella message to Jesse to arrange the details of the signage, the Goose signage and some of the, and the other, and the new signs to be put together. Just giving him agreeing that his outline and his direction are correct provide a very good base point.
So we're going to allow Jesse's sign designer to have leeway with converting the language on this sign to match the current signs on the towers. Is that correct?
Yeah, changing the fonts and colors to match that. And by carrying over this language, we're satisfying the state fish and game requirements.
I'll second.
Before we vote, I'll just ask Nancy, are you clear here on the motion?
Yes, yes, I got it. Thanks.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, Ron. This is easier than unmuting for sure. Great. So we're going to move on to topic 6B, which is the PRT master plan, and what our steps would be, or our initial discussion for coming up with Parks master plan. I'm not really sure how to start this discussion. Obviously, the plan that we present to GOCO is gonna consist of these elements that are listed: permanent public restrooms in the parks, establishing park names, wildlife mitigation, equipment standards, accessibility, sustainability, and beautification. So I guess the point of discussing this today is really which parts of this need the most community outreach. I know that naming the parks is going to really require some community outreach. I think that every bit of it is important to the community, and important that we have buy-in. The more of that we can do before it goes before the Board of Trustees or before it goes into a grant cycle, the better. Does anyone remember what grant cycle we would be doing our initial application in?
Are you speaking of the GOCO grant?
Yes.
I believe it's August.
Per the minutes, it's August, October, and February. There's 3 opportunities.
If I think about an August deadline, I feel like we're rushed already. But sort of, let's talk about how we come up with this, with the details for this grant application. Are we going to do this in our regular PRT meetings? Do we want to have some work sessions? How do we start the process here? Because this will be something, this is a whole new project and a little bit bigger scope than what we typically have worked on. It's great. I'm excited for us to jump into this, but I feel like it being very casual in work sessions probably is the way to go.
I agree with you, Jesse. I think work sessions hopefully where everyone's in person, and also having the basic building blocks. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. I think there's already a vision of what the gazebo park could look like through the comp plan, and we can take that and sort of build it and put more detail to it, or change it to something that is more suitable to what we have, our needs are now. And then, having a work session with the board and sort of presenting them some proposals so that that we can work together with the board, and also, like you said, getting that community buy-in. And it won't be like a big comp plan again. It's just going to be a smaller piece of that, and then being able to have that master plan to where we can go out and get grants to get the pieces that we want done, because we're not going to be able to do it all at once. So I think the work sessions to begin with is a good starting point.
I don't know, can you hear me?
We can. Mhm.
Thank you. I have time off in, most of June and July. So, I would love to see us move forward on this. And I think it's a much bigger project than just, what we looked at in the comprehensive plan. I've looked at some of the plans that have been done with this grant, and it's really pretty extensive, and I think it's appropriate for our town. I think it would really help us look at things in a much broader and specific sense than anything that comp plan touched on. And it certainly will help with grants, but yeah, I guess I'm just thinking the sooner the better.
So sounds to me like we're in agreement that an in-person work session is the right way to start this off. And I agree with Catherine, the sooner the better, because it's a big project. And in our group, when we have these meetings, we call it the spaghetti on the wall meeting, where everybody comes and you throw all the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks, and work your way through it. So, so aside from our PRT members, who should we invite to this? Is this an open work session? Do we invite a specific board of trustees? How should we move forward through this?
Well, I'm inviting myself.
I think you're considered a PRT member. Since
I think Becky would be really good because she's been through the process already.
Mhm.
And could really help with, I think her guidance would be invaluable. Because I think it's probably quite possible to waste time in areas that we don't really have to have completely fleshed out before we get the grant. Because after all, the idea is that the grant is that this plan would give us a better picture of where we're going than we have right now.
Yeah, and I understand what you just said, and I agree. But the other half of me says I don't want to get awarded a grant and then try to figure out how to make it work in a short amount of time.
Right.
So I sort of see our master plan for the park system being all of our dreams and wishes, what it could be, what it can be, and what it'll take to get there.
Jesse?
Yes.
Why don't what do you think about appointing a moderator to begin and move the work session, brainstorming on the master plan for Gazebo Park forward?
I agree with Dawn, having someone to sort of direct us and, so that we don't go off in too many rabbit holes.
Well, again, I think Becky would be the perfect person for that role if she's available, if she has the kind of time to spend.
So is there a committee member who will volunteer to come up with a time and date and see if Becky's available? I do agree Becky would be a good moderator to keep us on course, because even in this brief discussion, I think there's confusion about whether this is about Gazebo Lake Park or if it's about the entire park system. So we obviously need to get on the same page with that. because I'm envisioning this is about the entire park system of the town.
Right. Well, that's what in the examples of these master plans that I've seen, it's about a lot of things, even beyond the parks, like how to connect to the parks. It's really comprehensive in its own way. It's looking at pedestrian friendly walkways, making sure that, people can get around, not just the parks areas themselves.
So I'll tell you what, I'll dig in. I will volunteer on this one, Nancy, and I will talk to Becky and other leadership and get a time on the calendar where we can meet in person with the right folks and really flush out what exactly the scope is and start moving forward on it. So you all can email me on this about this.
Becky just walked in, so maybe she would like to give a word.
I hear we're talking about the intent of the scope of work for the GoCo Parks and Rec Master Plan. Am I nice and loud? There we go. So it really ends up being tailored to what the community needs are. I think that there's a lot of things that can be addressed in it, from, parks to like you were saying, the connectivity to parks, but also it could include our trail systems and be able to help design some effective ways to deal with trailhead improvements, including parking. So I would recommend at the beginning of it, at least, kind of having that pie in the sky. What are our needs? What are the issues that we're dealing with? And then how can we utilize this as a tool to begin planning to improve some of those issues that might be there? And then, I always prefer approaching things from that pie in the sky perspective. There'll obviously be low-hanging fruit that we can easily accomplish, that are quick, cheap, effective things that we can do. But the big thing on this is it'll help us to identify things that are going to be larger in scale, have a larger price tag, and kind of give us an idea of what those price tags are and position us to pursue additional grant funding to implement projects. I think that a larger scope at the forefront ends up being better than at the last minute, oh, but we forgot and this could have been.
Thank you for that, Becky. And would you be willing to moderate that meeting, that workshop?
I'm happy to. And this is also something that we are able to engage Chris, I can't remember his last name, Abby from GoCo, and I'm certain that he would be willing to participate in any level of the project.
Okay. And do you envision these workshops being open to the public? Is it a committee? How do you envision that?
I think that it ends, I kind of envision it being the PRT being the committee that leads the initiative. But then I also feel like it's going to be some coordinated open houses based upon, and so I don't think that we have to go too far into that, because the way that it happens is we go ahead and we apply for the grant. And once awarded, what will occur then is we will look at a contractor, we'll select a consulting firm to actually produce the plan. That consultant firm will then moderate and coordinate and help plan, facilitate, and market those public outreach meetings. And it's totally worth doing it that way. They're really great at it.
Becky, is there a place where the committee members could go to find examples of these master plans?
The best way is straight up to Cyberstock, other communities' websites.
That one from Natarita was on their website. I think the city of Victor has theirs on their website. I have a hard copy of that one as well. Several of the communities do go ahead and post those on their websites. Additionally, I think that some of the consulting firms post or, have them available as well as part of their portfolios.
Okay.
I'll, if you'd like, I'll go ahead and poke and find a couple. The Natarita one that I really liked was because they did have a water feature, which I think between the creek and the lake is really appropriate. I'll poke around a couple of similar mountain communities and see what they've got and send you some links.
Thank you.
How do you spell Natarita?
I don't even know if I'm saying it right. So it could be Narita, but I think it's Natarita,
Okay.
Naurita.
Neu.
NAU. I'm certain of that part. But I do have a copy of that digitally that I can send out to the group as well.
Okay, that'd be good. I haven't found it yet. I've
Okay,
been playing.
okay.
So just to clarify, so the PRT is initiating this, where we will, with Chris Arby's help, we will try to go for a grant that will help us make a master plan.
Right.
And then with that grant, they will help us do the community outreach to get community buy-in.
Mhm.
What kind of details do we have to have going into the grant? I mean, I think that's where we're at right now is the work sessions. What are we going to be doing at the work sessions to make the grant a possibility?
I think the big thing right now ends up being that recommendation from the PRT to the board of trustees that this grant opportunity is a good thing and that they recommend that the town pursue it. Then from there, I'll help to put together that grant application. It didn't look terribly tedious. I think that the things that we are going to need to gather in the meantime ends up being photos of things that need help, things that need to be repaired. That'll help us to make a case. I think the other piece that ends up being important is a list of assets. What do we have? What do we know that we have? What do we know about them? What do we know that we don't know about them? And then at least a few letters of support from the community for the Parks and Rec Master Plan. And I think being able to demonstrate that broad-based community support from diverse stakeholders ends up being additionally helpful. Other than that, I think that really that first step is the BOT approval to do that, to submit for the grant application.
Becky, I'm thinking that it's a little premature to move right into a grant application. Am I hearing you correctly?
It's a planning grant application though, so it's not for construction or any getting things going. What it would do is give it, if awarded, we would have this winter then to work with a consultant and develop the plan. And then it would position us for probably springtime grant applications for GoCo for actual construction.
We have a great deal of information already in our in a town master plan.
Mhm.
And they're all conceptual.
They're all conceptual.
I don't understand why, because it's broad.
Mhm.
Like interconnecting parks, and I wrote a whole paper on it. So I'm still thinking that the PRT creates an avenue of thought and concepts of what we'd like before public input is generated.
Absolutely. And the plan will be that tool that will help you to conceptualize. The additional component of the plan is that it does give you a price tag on all of the renovations needed, the upgrades, those types of things, those cost estimates. So that when we do pursue funding, we have an idea of what it's going to cost. And that's a large part of the plan, is that the consultant goes out to several different companies and bids out the prices and the materials to do the work. So we're not going out and we're not going into it blind. We have an actual real world idea of what things are costing now compared to 5 years ago, when it was a completely different world in the, you know, in the construction market. And I'll share those plans again so that you're able to see it. The good thing about this plan is that I think that there's no cash match from the town. So we're not out anything. The other thing that's really good about it too is that it takes the burden off of, or the perception off of, this is the PRT wanting to do these things. And it does do that additional community engagement. So it does feel very much like they are projects and a plan that the community has ownership in.
I don't know if the idea that the PRT generates the idea is a bad thing.
No, I don't.
Because we are all in the community, and whoever we bring in is not going to be part of the community. So.
Yeah, I didn't mean to insinuate that. I think that it's a great way to engage the community.
So, assuming that that Chris Abbey would be available.
They also provide resources. I mean, a lot of
I think we've lost Catherine here for a second. Why don't I throw out a date of the Wednesday 2 weeks from now? Is there anyone on PRT that is not available to do a work session that day? Assuming that Chris Abley and Becky are available.
What date is that again?
That would be May 25th.
I'm good.
25, yeah. Should be fine.
I'm
That's
open
fine
right
for
now.
me.
Did you say you were available, Ron?
Yes.
I am, yes.
And Catherine?
this would be at 4.
I would say let's do it at 4 o'clock, live in person.
Live in person. Okay. That's the part that can be tricky for me, but let me check my calendar. Yeah, no, the 25th looks good.
Okay. Then I'll move that we schedule our first workshop on May the 25th at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, contingent on Becky Frank and Chris Abbey being available to lead the workshop.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, motion passes. Do we have any correspondence?
No.
Or any reports?
Not unless Don or Jay has a report.
Nothing,
Nothing.
nothing here.
I have a brief report about the little triangle, the corner park across from the pool.
Mhm.
I don't really know what to call it. So there's some interest in redoing that whole area, and but there's culvert repair has to be done first. So I just wanted to let you know that, you know, we can't really do anything until the culvert's taken care of, and that might be done by the end of the month. And then we could do some planting there. And some of the volunteers have talked about ways of watering it for the first year, but it's pretty much going to be xeriscaped. So I just wanted to share that with the committee.
Did I recall there was a discussion at one point that various local parks would be adopted by some of the outside groups. And I thought the Chamber of Commerce was going to take over that small triangle. Is that correct?
Well, we are, the Chamber of
is.
Commerce
Aha.
is,
Okay. I didn't,
but
not knowing the cast of characters, I didn't know you were on the chamber.
But see-
Catherine. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm spread way too thin. But the thing is that there are people who are interested who aren't part of the chamber that are interested in participating. So I think the chamber is probably just gonna help pay for things in the park. And we were also thinking that it might be appropriate for the chamber to take care of the area where the sign is that's outside of Green Mountain Falls over in Chipeta Park. I think that's, it's county property, I guess. I'm not sure what the exact status is of that. But where that sign is.
That sign is in a county right of way. And the seventh of the original group of signs was the approval of that sign had to fall to the county highway department, and I've not been able to get a response from anybody on that group. I don't recall ownership of the land adjacent to it, but I believe it is privately owned.
I know there have been Green Mountain Falls citizens that have planted there, and somebody's been maintaining it. I thought it was our public works that was trimming stuff there, but that's something that the chamber could take care of if that's makes things easier because of its position.
So I'll make a comment here that this is the reason that we need a parks master plan to identify those specific areas, because there are many of them outside of the parks. But just as we need documentation and permissions for trails to be worked on and improved, we need place for these extra park spaces, just so that we're, if PRT needs to make those recommendations to the Board of Trustees, just like we do with trails, I think that establishing, that triangle and having it be the sort of the demonstration or the model for how that works for the other areas, then we can apply it to those areas. For example, Craig Peterson and Karen Watson take care of the whiskey barrels on Gazebo Island, but I don't know that they've ever signed a volunteer waiver or are being acknowledged for their donation of materials and time. So I think, this is part of what I envision we're calling the Parks Master Plan, to include those areas. So I think it's great, Catherine, that the chamber wants to do that. And I think we memorialize it by, having them make a request to the PRT and we recommend it to the board.
Okay, great.
To everyone, I'm just talking. I'm not saying that's the rule. I'm just saying it seems like that's the direction we should go. Is there any other comments about that?
I agree with you, Jesse.
Or are we just making it, am I just making it too difficult? I don't want to be that guy either.
No, just speaking from experience, just with that little corner, there are people who want to contribute, but they don't necessarily want to take responsibility. So, I'd like to see a coordinated effort. And, if that means that the chamber takes responsibility so that things are coordinated, that's fine with me. We're certainly not looking to complicate anything for the town, for Public Works. Hopefully this actually simplifies their job.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it does benefit everyone, but let's take it through the process just like it's a trial. So that
Sure.
we don't, so we're gathering all the right information. Let's try it and have you present that as an agenda item with a plan to it. Sounds great.
Just to follow up on the discussion from earlier, the parcel of property that has the Green Mountain Falls sign on the eastern end of the town. This is the sign that falls outside of Green Mountain Falls jurisdiction, is actually on 5.7 acres of county highway, county property. It is El Paso County. It is highway property, and that covers the entire area on the where the path runs alongside the stream, or alongside Fountain Creek, all the way down to the intersection of Chipeta Park Road with Mesa Road. So it's quite a big parcel. I would assume the maintenance is being done by El Paso County people because it is occasionally mowed. It is not heavily or routinely maintained though. There is some mowing in that area.
I don't know if there's some way we could designate. I think, there were poppies planted that got mowed. And, I think all we're really interested in, I'm assuming what we're interested in is just maintaining, especially around the sign, that area looks like it's cared for and that it's, that it's welcoming.
Yeah. I'll take an initiative there. I had spoken to people from the highway department previously. I had been told that there were other people who needed to comment, and the commentary sort of dissolved in, bureaucratic, lack of bureaucratic, poor understanding within the bureaucracy. And I'll see if I can get something going again. So I'll report on that next time.
That sounds great.
Great. Anyone else before we adjourn? Ron, thank you for your attendance today. Thanks for joining us with PRT. We're happy to have you, and I know that you'll be a lot of help when we dig into some of these big master plans.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 4:26 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.